the basic parts that I wanted to show you about the camera before I got started, because in case you don't use Flipgrid regularly, that's the stuff that you might not know. So, now, once you create your Flipgrid video, this is basically what everything I'm talking about today is once you have your videos created, what do you do next? So if you've recorded videos before, once the student records their video, this is my student, this is the video they recorded, it gives you the option for feedback as an educator. Feedback, edit, share. If I click share, it shows me the QR code and the link. So I have the option to copy it, right click and download it, or copy the link. And you find that right, or if I want to do the entire class, so for Teacher Appreciation Week, if I wanted to print out every single message that kids posted for Teacher Appreciation Week, I would click print QR codes, and it's going to take me to what all those codes are. Now, since I'm focusing on Flipgrid AR, I should probably tell you what AR stands for. It stands for Augmented Reality. It's a type of interactive, reality-based display environment that takes the capabilities of computer-generated display, sound, text, effects to enhance a real-world experience. So what that means is if you scan that video in the beginning, I kind of pop out at you. The closer you get, you can look up my nose. You can zoom away, you can put your hand behind it, and I still stay in front of you because it's augmented reality, it's right there. Once you click, so this is the first step here, print QR codes, and it would take you and print out, and it would show you all of your QR codes like this. I think it's 4 to a page. You can change the size you print them at, and then you can print out every single one of these. It will show you whatever name the kids have put. So like this one for the pumpkin elevators was just Levi. This was a group. Part of their names get kicked off. So you can change that by you can physically change that if I just want to be like group 3, group 2, group 1. Luckily, I can go through and edit any of these names. I can edit, I mean, you can pretty much edit anything as an educator. We had, was it Teacher Appreciation Week? Mm-hmm. Which one was that? We had a student who, their parents were saying some not so great words in the background of the video. The video is super cute, but how do you tell a 1st or 2nd grader that your mom just said some real bad words?
Several times.
Several times. And when Mrs. Mahan was watching it to make sure it was appropriate, she was like, oh, this is good. I don't need to keep watching. You do. So what I was able to actually do is I downloaded the student's video and I downloaded their selfie at the end, and I re-uploaded it as under my own account. I snipped the end of the video off so they couldn't, so I cut the student off. Luckily, she paused before she went on, and her mother started saying that. So I just erased it like it never happened. And then at the end, I uploaded the selfie that the student already took, and then where it would have said Jennifer M, I just got rid of that and put the student's name. You would have never known that I fixed it. No, I didn't have to embarrass the student. I didn't have to anything. And that's great because then I'm in full control of what the students are doing up here.
Yeah, you have to watch and listen, and some of them are so soft that it's like, wait a minute, what was...
And on some of them, kids can reply to each other, and kids can comment back and forth with a video, which is great, unless you have those students who ruin it for everyone. And I've had to turn off the comments because...
I've turned off the comments.
Yeah, I think you've had to turn off the comments, too.
I've turned off comments.
I can also moderate it where when students go to respond, I approve them before they go public, because... you never know what kids are going to say on there.
Well, and it depends on whether you want them to, is it something you want them to respond to?
And especially with counseling, like you said, you don't need everyone to see what their responses were. If you want it to be private, you just never moderate it. But it is good to mention to students, this is moderated, it will not show up, or they're going to keep posting and posting and posting, like, why is my video not showing up? And I think you've had a few people post like four or 5 times.
4 times.
Yeah. So, how do I create the Flipgrid videos? You log in as an educator. How do I create the AR? You log in as an educator like usual. You click at the top, download the QR codes, print response, and then you basically print them. In order for it to be augmented reality, to pop out at you, you have to use the Flipgrid app. or Flipgrid on your Chromebook. A regular QR code reader will read it, but it will not be augmented reality, so it will not jump out. But for certain projects, it doesn't matter. I still like that anyone can go in the hallway and scan that code, and that video is still playing for you. So how do you print them? Download them all, or you can download a single one, and this kind of just explains. And then that's on your slides for you to see. So this is probably my favorite way that I have started using Flipgrid AR. I teach in the STEM lab. I have 6 or 7 different classes a day, and every class sometimes is completely different. So I was away for a week at TCA in Texas, and trying to have a sub come in my classroom and explain, you have to physically, like, here's where you find this. I had too much stuff going on that I couldn't sit it all out here for the teacher to find. So I used Flipgrid AR for me to visually show you, okay, here's where this is. I'd pick it up, I'd put it on the table, I showed them the layout that I wanted, I showed them how to log on, and I think I had Tiffany Hansen as a sub and
Cole.
Yeah, Loretta Cole.
Yeah.
And they said this was so helpful because they scanned it either with the Flipgrid app or with a QR reader, and I left my instructions up here for them. And I basically told them exactly how I wanted things to be. I gave them hints. I showed them, you know, for kindergarten, you have to physically log them on. And I doubt you know how to use Osmo coding. I doubt you know how to navigate code.org. So I physically showed them so that way they could scan it. And then Loretta even said it was really helpful because when the kids were in there and she was up on the smartboard trying to show them, she could like rewind a part that she needed to see. So this is probably my biggest game changer with Flipgrid AR. I got this template from the book, The Interactive Class, because I like to read, Jenny. Got the template, scanned a Flipgrid AR code to get it, and it just was really helpful. So if this is something you guys would want, I can always share this with you. It was helpful for me. It might be helpful for you. If not, I had to kind of crop some of the things to get in there. But what was nice is I teach the same lesson Monday and Tuesday. I teach the same lesson Wednesday and Thursday. So it showed them how to do things. We use this for interactive choice boards. Most of these, we put the thing up here, or the students could scan the code options. So this is our STEM interactive choice boards. We are providing students with a choice and how they could use Flipgrid. So that was pretty fun. Now, as we move on, I will say there are hundreds, probably thousands of ways that educators are using Flipgrid AR in their classroom. I could not come up with all these ways. I did not want to have to recreate all these ways for you. So I screenshot and brought in a lot of ideas that other educators use on Twitter, and I wanted to give them credit, so I kind of left their tweets on here, but that way you knew I didn't create it, someone else created it, and man, I learned a lot on Twitter. So, here are some ways that we could use it for open house. Lots of awesome ways. Record a Flipgrid video for open house so students can scan it at your front door. Think of how many times during I think we call it open house, don't we? Where students are already in your room, you're engaged with that one family, you have families waiting, you can't talk to everyone. Have different QR codes up with instructions, and families can scan it and learn what they need to. So if you're busy, they're still getting that experience. They're still learning maybe where they need to put their stuff, what they need to do. So I can be busy and you can be figuring it out on your own. Use Flipgrid AR to explain certain areas of your classroom. Enhance newsletters you send home to parents. Do a Flipgrid scavenger hunt to learn the school or different staff members. So some examples that I found on Twitter, this lady put this outside of her classroom. It says, scan this QR code with the free Flipgrid app to let me personally welcome you. That's at her door. So before you even enter that person's classroom, you're learning about them, you're seeing what they physically look like, and they're kind of just getting welcomed. This teacher here, they created postcards with their Flipgrid QR code on, explained how to do it. They sent that home to their families. So you weren't even coming into school, but already you're feeling welcomed by your teacher. You know what they look like. You're like, wow, that was really nice of them. This school here put clipboards out in the front, and every single teacher had a picture of themselves with the QR code that you could scan. So maybe for open house, you're not going to get to all your specials teachers, but you want them to feel involved. Here's what you could do. Put those on there. Put your custodians on there. Put your lunch ladies on there. The people that work really hard but don't always get the recognition. It's a great way. I still don't know who all our lunch ladies are. That's a great way for kids and teachers to learn who they are. Parent-teacher conferences. This was an example from, I think he's Sharon's class. We had kindergartners, we had fourth graders, I think the third maybe use it for conferences. We had lots of grades using Flipgrid for parent-teacher conferences. You don't always go to parent-teacher conferences with your parents. So the kids were recording something, either a message to their parents, you could record your goals, you could record how you felt you were doing. Or for this grade, they were just showing a weather report. Print out those QR codes, put it inside the folder, have an iPad sitting there, or have your parents use their own smartphone, scan it, and you guys can watch their own student come to life right before you. And they're like, wow, my teacher is really smart. Look at what she's doing. And wow, look at my student. And you can show, hey, this was them at the first conference. Look at them now in February. Look at that growth. So you can share what they'd like to improve, where they're doing well, self-evaluations. You can share any worksheet or test, goal setting. It's great for any grade. Pre-presentation meetings or introductions. So this is obviously what I had already. Quite a few times in the STEM lab, I had these on my board because we have 30 minutes. I can't be everywhere at once. And if I'm helping this table and you needed to know what you're doing next, at the beginning I said when you are done, go up and scan the code. I'm teaching you independence. I can keep helping you. You're not interrupting me. You're scanning it. Okay, I need to do this. You go on to your next assignment. This would be great for an everyday welcome message, but if you don't have iPads, it might not be as great. Beginning of class to-do list, a morning message, a great presentation opener, introduction to a lesson, information on a topic before you start, information for open house, or back to school night.
So go back to, and this is probably a silly question, but you said that kids would have to have an iPad. They couldn't use their Chromebook?
You can use your Chromebook.
They could scan that?
You can scan it with your Chromebook as well.
Gotcha.
Yep. But I always had my kids working in small groups. So I would have, in the STEM lab, I had iPads. So that's just mainly what I used. I'd have either one sitting there, or I'd have them sitting around.
Right.
So the kids knew this is what to do. This is how you do it. They knew their expectations for the most part.
We have extras around someplace, or just their one-on-ones? Chromebooks?
You can scan with your Chromebooks.
You can.
Well, I'm just thinking of specials
you show
where
us how to do
if I had like
Yeah, just with your
one
camera.
for each group.
Okay.
So if you go into Flipgrid, you can scan it with your Chromebook.
Oh.
I can show you that.
Okay.
So you didn't have to stop and pick them up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
For
you can.
some-
So like I said, these are from the last thing. This was just a visible reminder for my students. Leave these on your smartboard or your ClearTouch so students can independently scan for their next step. Add a QR code to your classroom rules or champs modeling your expectations. I mean, that's not something you would have to use every day, but that's something you could definitely talk about with your students. What does it look like to be at a level 1? What does a level 2 look like? What does it sound like? Find a kid who's doing something well and be like, hey, will you demonstrate this for me so I can record it? I'd probably use my shorts video for that. But then you could put that on there as a reminder. If you see someone maybe not doing what they're doing, hey, can you go scan that for me? Maybe check what you need to do. Just something, I don't know, that might call a kid out, but figure it out. This is some different ideas. This is very elementary based. This is an example I found, and it's awesome. So I'm gonna click on this. It says scan the code in centers for bouncing ball style videos. So everyone's seen the videos where read along with the bouncing ball, read along with the bear. So here's some great different examples for that. Oh, I guess I can show you up here. Forget, no, can't. So these are ones that other people made.
The Flipgrid Shorts camera is a standalone camera that you, as a teacher, can use
Let me get to the point.
to follow the bouncing ball style videos using the whiteboard, an imported
You can
image,
see
and the
the
Flipgrid
bouncing ball is
stickers.
moving. There's ones pre-made like
First
this,
of all,
so you
you're
can
going
share
to need
it
to
with your
type out the
students.
lyrics. You can use Google Docs or Microsoft Word for this, or you can make something that looks a little bit prettier in software like Canva, like I've done here. A couple of notes about this. It can be useful to type hyphens between each of the syllables, the way that you would see lyrics printed in sheet music. This makes it easier to point to each one later on.
So that's just an example of her, the way she did it. I think she's a music teacher. But here's a way that one of the Flipgrid engagement people, Anne, uses this in small groups as for digraphs. So here's her video.
Hi, Red Readers! This week we're going to be practicing our digraphs. Remember, these sounds come at the beginning and at the end of words that we read. So read with me right here on the screen, or play the video to listen to me. Let's practice together.
So you can do this in
If you're
small
watching
groups
the
or
video,
stations.
follow along with the bouncing smiley face. Ready? Here we go. Ch. Say ch. Ch. Chick. Say ch. Ch. Watch.
Now this would obviously be maybe for some
Say
younger grades, but she used the short
Shell.
camera to do this. So
Say
she's not expecting a response from students.
Fish.
So they could use this on their Chromebook.
Say thumb.
This would be great for title
Say
or tier.
Bath.
So you get the
Wow.
point of that one. I'm going to show you. She did the same thing for short vowel. I reached out to her because I was not about to remake this. But once you make it once, it's there forever. You can use it multiple times. Doesn't go away. You can share it with other teachers. And honestly, you might even be able to find something similar on the pre-made disco library.
Hey, Blue Readers! This week we are practicing short vowel sounds. These sounds come in between consonant sounds. Remember, consonant, vowel, consonant words have short vowel sounds in the middle of the word. Read with me or play the video to listen to me read. Here we go. Let's practice together. If you're watching the video, follow along with the bouncing smiley face. Ready? Begin. Ah, ah, ah. Say cat. Cat. Ah, ah, ah. Say hat. Hat. Eh, eh, eh. Say bed. Bed. Eh, eh, eh. Say pen.
So that's an example. I think that would be great for our young learners. It'd be great in tier time. It'd be awesome for centers, for kids who are early finishers. They could do something like this.
Can they record themselves somewhere
Yes.
too?
And say you created this as a topic.
Right.
Students could respond to this. I think it'd be interesting to see if some of your older kids, could you have them make their own something like this and follow along with. So that's just, I thought those are really cool. A bouncing ball thing is like you could follow along with any story, any read aloud. You could have the teacher reading and follow along. But I thought those are really cool for either centers, independent practice, something like that. So if you are on this slide presentation, these are examples that you will have on your computer now. These are some ways that I have used them previously in my classroom with my Bitmoji. This is one that I have used, I think I added it to the choice board. So this is my Bitmoji holding this. This is my end of the school year message for STEM. This is one I did with 4th grade. It didn't fit very well, but I sure tried. And that leads you to a Christmas themed topic that 4th grade did. I used it for the STEM lab, but you could always use it for early finishers. So when my kids were done with their Christmas project, I had this sitting around so they could go do that. Instead of just sitting there bothering someone else or looking for something to do, they knew, move along, find something, and that's what I had. Interactive displays are awesome. You can have these in the hallway, and I have some of my own examples later that I've done, but this is a great way to showcase school holidays. Decorate the hallway. Open house. So take what you're already doing, and you can just add that voice to it. Add them explaining their project. So I'm thinking of some projects I did last year with Christmas stuff that I added some Flipgrid videos to it. But more, I could have added, how did you make this? Why did you do it this way? And you're adding that extra part to it. School concerts. I thought for Pam, that'd be awesome, you know, as parents come in, they could scan something. Maybe it's even her videoing them practicing. Maybe it's them explaining why a certain song is their favorite way. Put it in the program. Put a QR code on there. Have a class explaining it all together. At the public library, or even in this library, you could have those QR codes. Veterans Day at the Blair. Maybe you could have QR codes around and students helping them because, you know, those veterans, bless their hearts, might not be able to do it on their own. But have that around and maybe have a special message directed towards your veterans. Have it around a parent-teacher conferences. Put it in the folder that you're going to share to support a specific group, like when we do CASA or CARES, or a specific sporting group from the high school that comes to visit us. You could have something there. You know they all have their own smartphones and can scan it. This example here, they lined their lockers with a little picture of them as an elf, and then a QR code next to them explaining Christmas traditions around the world. This one up here is like they made a banner, like bunting. Did she say what she did? No, she's just saying about how she liked it. You can use it as decoration, all sorts of different ways. Some more interactive displays. Apparently I put that one twice. I really liked it. I thought this was super cute. So they printed out the picture. Hold a piece of blank paper like this, or have your students stand like this, take their picture, put that QR code there, and use a clip. And now your student can stand. So this is actually the guy who I think helped create Flipgrid. He said, we went to a family teacher conference tonight. They had this out at their school. There's the lockers again, but it'll add flair to your hallway, to the lunchroom, to the classroom, playground, bulletin boards, the office. There's tons of places you can use it. So here's some examples of how I actually used it. This was my 100th day of school. I had every student in kindergarten through 5th grade record either where they thought they'd be in 100 years, if they could have 100 of something, if they could give 100 of something. And actually, I think that's what I'm donating to the fair this year, so that's my fair art. And here is this again. In the hallway, I had tech badges for kids, which if parents came into the school, they had no idea what those tech badges were. I put little QR codes out there to explain it. And at first I thought, no one's going to read those. So I'm in my classroom one day, and I hear myself talking, and I'm like, so I go out there, and our custodian, Becky's standing there, scanning all the codes, watching those in the hallway. You know, after school, the kids came like sprinting over to the bus line to be like, scan my video to their teacher, watch my video. When parents came into school, this is one of the places that they made sure they took their parents so they could scan the video. Or parents were looking at this trying to find their kid and watch their video. So, and to, you know, it doesn't have their face, it does have their name though, but you could get rid of their last name for more privacy things. Or if that student's one who doesn't have the paper sign, I just wouldn't put that student on display out there. This is the way we did it for random acts of kindness. I had students work in groups. Every student is on here for random acts of kindness. Some of the K through 2 classes, I did not want to do every single student, so I did it as a class. I was more in charge. I went around to each student. You told me something about being kind. I put that up here. For people who didn't know how to do it, I added a sign. Scan the QR code with your phone to watch the Flipgrid videos. People knew what to do. At conferences, people came down and were scanning this. Added a little decoration, and it was my way of contributing because sticky notes fall off. Here's some ways I used it in my classroom. The kids were holding something, I added a Flipgrid code to it. So you can add the QR code to pictures. I put these around my classroom. And part of my actual class some days was you in your small group was going around with your iPad scanning these codes, because I had iPads in the STEM lab. So you were going around scanning these and learning why your classmates, as part of our design process, the last step is presentation. This is how we were able to present our projects. This is how we were able to share and collaborate across grade level our projects. This was what I did in the hallway with kindergarten. There was a QR code. I scanned it. They were explaining their tree, how they made it, why they didn't use any glitter, why they made theirs so small. They did this by themselves. The videos were a little rough, but kindergartners were still able to present. They were still sharing what they were doing. It definitely took practice for kindergarten to be able to do this on their own, but they did it. And then this was one that I found. It says our minds are blown with the amazing ways you're using Flipgrid AR in your learning communities. Here's some things that people were doing. And it looks like it was with math, 125, I don't know, I can't read it. Something times something, and I'm assuming that's the students explaining how they answered that question. Here's some more examples to showcase student work. 6th grade science, 3D cell models. If you see, they have their model made, and then they add a QR code. So not only are you seeing the student's model, but now you can actually physically go in and have the students explain their model, why they chose that, why they did what they did. I thought this was really cool. Silhouettes of Thankfulness turned out beautiful. I had the kids narrate their creation in Flipgrid Topic. So here they must have created it and then added their QR code. So you can see someone scanned down here, and they must have set it up so it was still a shadow. It's pretty cool. Here's some more examples. This is in a hallway of just ways that you can use Flipgrid AR. Now, I used it in my classroom for small group instruction. A lot of times in the STEM lab, there's a lot of kids in there. I had kids in different stations, and I had examples of how to do it. I keep forgetting I can't touch that. So here's one that I've done in the STEM lab. I think this was with 4th grade.
Today, you get to use these gears to create any object that you want. Don't forget that the lever
So different
helps
tables had different materials, and this explained how they were doing it.
To read the Flipgrids, do you have to have an app on your phone? I mean,
It can be any
Hello,
QR
fourth
code
grade.
reader on your
Today
phone,
you
your
are using a
Chromebook,
Dash and Dot
an
robot. So
iPad.
once you get to your table, you will
This
see
one
a
kept blowing
Dash
away,
robot.
so that's why you see my
and an
video blowing
iPad.
away. So I was just screen recording so you guys could see what it looks like then.
This station is all about practicing keyboarding and making sure your hands are on the home row keys.
What do you do?
So once you get to this station, I need you to open the Chromebook and sign on to the.
So here's another way. This guy, I follow him on Twitter. He does amazing things with kindergarten. So he says students can scan 8 Flipgrid AR cards to see words to stamp out. So each one of them gave them a word, gave them an example how to stamp it, what his expectations were. The kindergartners knew to scan that code, and then they did the work. Scan the next code, then they did the work. It would obviously take some practice, but that's a really cool idea. And then students then draw a picture to match the word. I love this idea, book reviews. So some of these books, I'll put that one back where it's supposed to be, I'll leave my finger. You could easily, inside of this, if it's your classroom book or on the back, on the front, you could tape a QR code to it. That's why we can't have nice things. You can tape a QR code to it and do book reviews. So add a QR code inside the cover and have a student put a summary of the book. Have a student review the book. I really like this book because, and have your student explain why they like it in a way to make kids want to read it. So that would be an awesome thing to do in your classroom library, in any library, or even in the hallway, what you are reading now. Or think about it, this looks like it's almost at the book fair. Kids explain the books and put the QR code on there. So highlight a few books each month, create a what the teacher is reading this month display, and I think of like how, I think Deb over there had what students were reading. So that would have been a great way where you had a picture of the student, the books, they could add the Flipgrid QR code to explain what they're reading. This looks like book reviews in the hallway, so that's what that one is. We always use Flipgrid to record our book reviews in my class once a book is finished, so you could do it. Everyone could do it if you're reading a book all together. Now I started to print the AR codes to tape on the back of the book so students can scan, grab a book, scan the code, and see their classmates speak about the book. So it's one thing if I'm saying this book's really good, you should read it. But if my little bestie's over here telling me this book is awesome, I'm probably going to listen to them over my teacher. Here are some ways that to do it in reading. Now this is that guy from kindergarten again. He said he challenged my TK students to be independent scholars. Their background knowledge of penguins using YouTube video, and then he uses Epic Books. So he has these here for kids to scan. Students are watching the live videos. This might take them to a live video. It might have taken them to a question. Different things. Here, Kind Time. Students spent the week exploring books on kindness. We had many discussions and role-played scenarios showing kindness. To make the connection with home, I created Kind Time watches using Flipgrid AR so students could talk with their parents about being kind.
Cool.
See, and I mean, when I say I can't come up with all these ideas, because these are awesome. The Disco Library provides pre-made topics you could share in your small groups for reading, or for early finishers, have your students record themselves reading and create a mixtape to assess their progress. So you could do a mixtape for, I mean, this would be a great way to record what students are reading, their progress, and then add every reading thing that student posted into a mixtape. That way, when you want to show someone, you have the link right there to show all of their reading videos, so I can show you how that student's doing, if they're improving. Maybe that's something still you could show at a SIT meeting, or maybe that's something you could show at conferences and be like, look how, you know you have those parents who say, my student is not improving. You can show them right here. Well, let me show you how little Tommy was doing at the beginning of the year versus now in this 6 different video option. Tell me again how he's not improving. More ideas for reading. I like this reading map here for an author study. Oh, that was cool. This guy, this is the kindergarten guy again, he does Mad Libs, and he has a picture here to explain maybe what a Mad Lib is, what he's expecting you to do. So place an image on the wall, have students record their own story and add to the image, so like a continuing story. Read a story and tape the QR code inside the book. Those are some options with reading. With math, I really started using this, like I said, for math, for formative assessment, because it was a great way for kids to learn from each other. I didn't always have to create the topic. There were topics created for me. So students can make flip grids to compare and contrast, surface area and volume of prisms. So here they're explaining it, but then they're using their words to explain it even more, to explain those vocab words, why they chose it, how they did it. So that's on their project. This is another example here. So you could use this to tell your math facts, to recite your multiples. You could use it as a whiteboard and a blackboard to feature your work, to show that you know what you're doing. This could be a task apparently, for early finishers. Or you could do a write the room activity to get kids up and moving, where you put QR codes around the room and you go from problem to problem or different problems, so you're not just sitting in your spot the entire time. You can add this as directions for games. So here's a way to add it, a direction. I have this here. This is an activity that I used with students when I taught 5th grade math. I obviously did not add, Flipgrid AR wasn't a thing then. So looking back, kids struggled with multiplying with decimals because they forgot how to do it. So instead of, this would be work that I sometimes had for early finishers, to go ahead and grab one of these, work through it. And then when I'm trying to help my students who are independently working, I'd have that student come up and ask me 1,000 questions. Scan it, and I pop out explaining. This is an example where I showed them. I used the writing tool to physically show moving. I wonder if I added a link to this one. Yep. So I showed physically moving the decimals over.
Hi guys, I want you to think about what it looks like when you multiply a whole number by a number with a decimal point. So take a moment and think about, when you do that, what's the process you go through?
So I switched it to my blackboard.
Hopefully you've had a few moments to think. So I'm going to create a problem and we're going to talk through the steps. So here is our multiplication problem, and the first thing we do is multiply like we usually would. 2 times 1 gives us 2. 2 times 7 gives us 14. Now, if you think back to class, we multiplied this just now like we usually would multiply a problem. What we did is we saw how many times could we take our decimal point over. There's no decimal point here, so that's 0. There's one little curve here, so we moved our decimal point over one place. 0 plus 1 gives me 1. We're going to move our decimal point in 1 place. So our answer is 14.2. Now, I want you to think about how would I say 14.2 correctly? Would it be 14 and 2/10? Would it be 14 and 2/100? How do we say this using our correct term?
Well, that's enough of me. But you can see how me adding that on there, students could scan it, they could figure it out on their own by watching that example, and then move along. This is a cool idea that I saw. Everyone's heard of the game headbands. If you haven't heard of headbands, it's normally something on your head. You're figuring out what the other person has. So this person used like sentence strips. And here's a link to how he did it, how all that worked. Use a sentence strip in a bag. Student who wears this has to guess the text feature. So the other person is scanning it, guessing the text feature based on that. Here, I don't know what this person did. They were being spies, using the QR codes to find clues, tools, to learn a code, a secret spy message. Mission accomplished. So this is one I actually came up with earlier during remote learning and shared it on social media, and people loved it. So I was like, I'll add it. I created a cube because when I taught 5th grade math, what I would do is on my whiteboard, I didn't want everyone solving the exact same problem because then you're only having one video to watch. I wanted you to try like 5 different problems. So I wrote random QR codes up there, and kids would choose 1 to 2 and answer them. However, if Jenny was doing the second problem, I was probably going to try and do the second problem too. And then Ashley wanted to be like us, so she would do that problem. And then if Katie's doing one and I don't like Katie, I'm not going to do that problem. This eliminates that. You're rolling the dice and you're able to just scan it for a question. So some questions I had. A turtle walks 12 feet in 1 hour. How many inches does the turtle walk in 1 hour? That brings you up to my topic question. You're going to respond to it. If you're also practicing fine motor skills, you can have the students cut these out on their own. I cut it out by myself because I had no one else to cut it out for me. So you could have the students make their own, or you can make it yourself. I made some brownies and accidentally ate half the pan. Oops. The remaining brownies I want to split among 3 friends. I had enough already, so don't include me. Well, which fraction of the brownies will each friend get? That was a problem that we would have actually done. So that was a review. And this guy is multiply 2 1/4 times 3 2/3. Explain your work. So it's more randomized. All these look the same. I don't know which one she has. I don't know which one you have. So after you answer one, you could roll again, scan it for another topic question. Each side displays a different question for students to scan and answer. So different ways you could do this is you could have students come up with their own questions, print out their QR codes, and students can reply to their classmates. So instead of me doing all the work and making all the questions, why can't they come up with questions? That would be great for your kids who are maybe higher thinkers, who need more. Hey, now that you're finished early, can you come up with some questions? Come up with a question so your classmates can share as a review.
Where did they answer them at?
On Flipgrid. Yep, so if this is my topic question, it'll take us up to like that topic I showed you guys in the beginning, where you'll then just click on the green plus and answer your question. This provides 6 options, fun, different ways to learn and review. You can have students answer only 1 question, 1 to 2, or however many. Now, this doesn't have to just be math related. So here was me rolling my little dice. You could adapt this in social studies. Code links to videos describing alternative viewpoints of a historical event. Math word problems can be read aloud on Flipgrid and then shared on the cube. Students can roll the cube to find out what problem they need to solve. What else you could do is maybe there's 6 different ways to solve this math problem, because you know Common Core provides multiple ways to solve one problem. Maybe it's just explaining different ways to solve that math problem. Student-centered, have students create their own problem, put the QRs on various dice, having classmates respond to them. Teacher-centered, teacher creates the question. I like this pre-made idea. I thought it would be great for Susie. People have done a kindness cube. So basically, have you had Have you had a hard day? You would put Velcro on this. Students come in and roll the cube. Maybe that person's having a bad day, and have a positive message play to kind of build that student up. So use Velcro to change the messages, create, and just positive things. Either you record it or have a student record some positive messages, and that can kind of brighten a kid's day. Create cubes for vocabulary words. Have students share hints on each side of the cube. So maybe each side's a hint that leads you to a vocabulary word. How many rolls did it take you to get to that answer? Try only one. If you have to do all 6, you probably need to practice your vocab words a little bit. Story starters. So maybe you're practicing writing. When a student finishes their work early or has mastered what is being taught, they can roll the cube, and it'll give them a story starter, and they can start writing until everyone's finished. Roll the dice for a writing prompt. It's kind of the same thing. And then for your early finishers, record several different options for your students that finish their work early or have already mastered what's being learned. They may roll the cube to find out what they need to do and experience some new learning when they're finished early. This is one that I posted on social media and got, I can't even tell you how many views. I think it's up to 38,000 views by people sharing this and wanting to do something like this for their students. This is what I wish I would have done when I taught 5th grade math. I rarely assigned homework because, well, I don't like homework. But second of all, parents couldn't help their kids with the work. So I felt like I was punishing those poor kids who didn't have a good home life, who didn't have the people to help them. They were the kids always at the homework table. They were the kids who are always, never had it done. So this could have helped them a little bit. Send home a QR code attached to the assignment, giving examples, explaining how you would do this. So I've recorded some options up here. When I rewatched the one, I realized I kind of explained it in the wrong way, but because it was just for you guys, I didn't redo it. So don't be like that. So the worksheet was on properties, but nowhere on that worksheet did it explain what the properties were. So I created this.
Hey guys, in tonight's homework, we are talking about properties. So if you look at the direction, it says use the properties to find the product. Here's a list of the properties that we went over today. Now, one thing I like to remember about the distributive property, I almost look at this if I'm taking the 8 into the 2 and then the 8 into the 3, and I like to draw those little lines there, and that kind of visualizes for me what this next step here is going to look like. The identity property of addition is always going to have a 0 in it. Likewise, the identity property of multiplication is always going to have 1 times something equals itself to have parentheses. So keep that in mind. Associative property is always going to have parentheses. So when I look at tonight's homework assignment, the first thing I notice here, it says complete the equation and tell which property. So I have to write the property and fill in some information here. But I notice there's parentheses.
Does every student need that? No, but you have a lot of students that might need something like that. So having something like that available would help them. This one was order of operations. I did explain something wrong in here, so if I was actually for a student, I would have redone it. Since it was for you guys, I was like, not redoing it.
Hi guys, when you're working through today's assignment, keep in mind your order of operations. We go from parentheses, exponents, multiplication,
beautiful
and
writing
division,
too, by the way.
and they're kind of in the same place, and you're going to move left to right for these two. So make sure
as I
you
go
work
along, I started
left to right.
explaining things.
Multiplication.
I explained these wrong, so don't look at those. I keep going. I did a practice problem for kids here.
Work the parentheses first. 1 plus 1 gives me 2.
And this
then in
wasn't a problem
brackets,
on there, so I'm showing them a similar
braces are
problem
still there.
of
I
how
have
they do that.
2 times 5, close my bracket, divided by 2, close my brace. Now, I do 2 times 5 next, because that's in my bracket, and that gives me 10.
But think about some of your students that might not have that help at home. And pretty much all your kids have a smartphone. Their siblings have a smartphone. They might not have lunch money, but they probably have a smartphone. So they have this. They can figure out the resources. These took me 3 minutes to create. It was quick, but if I want my students to get the most out of their work, I would probably add that to the assignment. Maybe I would just print 6, put them in the back, and if students need them, they can grab them. I'm not going to call out kids who I think need them. I'm not going to force you to take one if you don't want one, but maybe have a few there just if they need. I thought this idea was cool. Christmas gifts, you know, everyone makes some random ornament, some random something. Add a QR code on for their parents to scan it, have your kid come out to life. And it's more memorable because not only are you seeing the year on there, but you're seeing what did your kid look like in 2019. Wow, you know, I still have ornaments that my parents had that I made. Now I could be like, oh look, that's how I talked when I was that age. Bless my heart. So tons of little ideas. Decorate your classroom tree. Send ornaments as a gift for family members. Record students caroling and donate those ornaments to a nursing home. Because you know those nurses or family members would definitely show how to do that. Scan the code. You guys come to life, your class. I know that little old person would be pumped. Display around the gym prior to the Christmas concert. You know there's always ornaments places. There's trees. So here's some ideas. This lady did a reindeer. This person did a tree. Yeah. Here's how I did it in my classroom some ways. This was pumpkin elevators that 3rd through 5th grade all created. As their presentation portion, I had them explain how they built it. What was the hardest part? What worked? What didn't work? And then I printed out all the codes. So that day when 3rd through 5th grade came in, they all scanned this. They might have been learning from a 3rd grader. They were learning from a 4th grader. They were learning from 5th grade. They didn't know who was, I think I had the names here, but I could have cut the names off. And you wouldn't have known whether that was a 5th grade one or a 4th grade one. So you can see here the kids are watching the videos with their partners. Some of them move to opposite areas. Options. Some ways you can do this with collaboration. Create student business cards. Create student trading cards or historical figures or scientists. What's cool about this is you can upload a picture of a scientist onto Flipgrid and I can have the student talk. So you can't see the student, you see that scientist or that historian and I'm talking like I was George Washington and telling you about their life. And I could put that in the hallway. You could work on it with partners. Flipgrid allows online discussion to come to life through video and augmented reality. This is great for both teachers and students to record themselves responding to a prompt. Through video, it allows your viewers to video the comments and you can see each other. And what I like, at least for the STEM lab, I do collaboration across grade levels and it's quick and easy. I've seen a lot of people do personalized birthday cards. So if someone's having a birthday, whether it's in my class, maybe it's a teacher, every student can record a birthday message and give it to that student. Teachers could create a topic for each student, create a video for a specific student. You can do this for birthdays, thank yous, graduation, holiday. So think if you have a speaker come talk to your class, you could send this to the speaker, put in there, you know, download the app or just scan with a QR code reader, doesn't matter. And then they can kind of have a personalized message from every student. This would have been great for remote learning. Create student certificates. So each one of these basically has me coming out being like, wow, you did it awesome, good job. I really like how you worked hard to get all A's and B's. And it's more personalized than me just putting your name on here and just putting your name to put your name. So it's a great idea for remote learning. Student of the week, do it that way. Personalized positive notes. Kindness, I didn't make these, someone else did, but it's what they've done. For remote learning, you could easily add a sticker to a student's work. You can kind of have one generic thing, QR, that you want to put on each person's, and I could put my Bitmoji with that QR on the person's paper that they turned in, so when I return it on Google Classroom, well, it has a fun little sticker. They're going to be like, they can scan it, see my comments, and it'll be more personalized to what the student's doing. Flipgrid AR in the community. Now, for YEC this year, the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, it was during basketball, I think for the girls or the boys, someone. There was a group not there. This is what they did. And they had this there. You could scan that code, and the group that wasn't able to be there, you still learned about their lesson. Now, Luke was really into Flipgrid because he had Pike Valley doing it as well as Republic County. You can create a grid specialized for both schools. So now you can have Pike Valley working with Republic County, explaining their business plan so both groups can see it. That's not really Flipgrid AR, but you can still do that collaboration across. I think Ashley Straight did a pen pal through Flipgrid with 4th grade in Concordia. So that's another way. At the YEC, they had the art displays there, and Tranda had a QR code underneath each art project. So when you scan that code, there was the art project, and here's a student like, this is my project. I made it using this. I chose to do this because, so that student wasn't, none of those students were there, but you could scan it and learn about their work, learn why they did what they did, and kind of have them explain, you know, the heart that they put into that. Here's another group doing it for a job fair. So you can explain your artwork, Shark Tank pitches, and give each other feedback, collaboration between Pike Valley and Repco, and then that just explains the other part. Some additional ideas. During remote learning, I saw so many teachers doing a flat teacher project. They would send a flat teacher their Bitmoji home with a QR code, something personalized to their students, and it was cute. There was an example here. These letters are loaded with, it's like a traditional pen pal letter, but then they went in and added the Flipgrid QR code. So now you're seeing the face behind the letter. So if you're doing this with another school, another country, whatever, you can see the face that goes with it. This lady does learning in the loo, and she has a QR code in there for teachers to scan and get a tech tip while they're in the bathroom. Because you know you have your phone. So she has her augmented reality in the bathroom and explains it. The flat teacher project, traditional pen pal, lots of fun things. This is kind of like a flat Stanley. You can do flat Stanley and send them with a QR code. You know, people can take their little pictures places. Some additional ideas, how-to tutorials. People use it as a restroom pass. Digital postcard for Mother's Day that they sent home if you were in school. Keychains, keepsakes, dedication, donations, yearbooks, gift tags, trading cards, an interactive newsletter, stickers for instruction, explain how to use materials, words of encouragement, record your lessons, and then there's some more additional ideas. If you want to follow Flipgrid on any of their social medias, they have it all. Their YouTube account has so many fabulous videos explaining what they're doing, new features. If their big hashtag right now is Flipgrid for All, so if you want to see anything that people are doing on Instagram or Twitter, I either type in hashtag Flipgrid for All, or for a lot of this assignment, I typed in hashtag Flipgrid AR, and that's where I got so many lesson ideas. Empower every student to amplify their voice, their Microsoft product. And this just says, let's try it. You guys have this on your computer. I would love it if sometime you don't have to scan it, you can just click it. And that'll take you to the grid I showed you earlier, where you can just kind of explain a way you could use this in your classroom. Whether it's an idea I already showed or an idea that you've come up with, just share it on there. It's only shared with us here. It's just for fun. Would love it if you do it. Jenny, would love it. And it's a good way to practice using the camera too, because if you have not actually recorded your Flipgrid videos, it's a great example. Any questions? Yes?
And I may have missed this part, I'm sorry. Okay, I've seen you do where we make the Flipgrid video.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get it to a QR code?
Well,
You were upstairs, weren't you?
I was, I'm sorry.
no, I got you.
It was in there, I can go back and
No.
look.
Almost there. Okay, once your student creates their video, so this is like the video I created, this is my student. Anytime you're watching their video back, you have the option feedback, edit, share. If I click share, if I click this QR code here, it shows me this. I can right click it or download it if I just want to do one student. If I want to do all of my students, anytime you have responses, so here's my question, I'm on the teacher view. You'll see here where it says print QR codes.
Okay.
If I click on that, this is what it brings up. My QR codes for my entire class. It prints 4 per page. So if I have 20 kids, I'm going to have 5 pages. So yeah, you can change the size. I can show you real quick. So, here's all my videos. So let me find one where I actually have people who answered. Mrs. Gallion usually has a bunch for music. So this is her anything goes. So if she was on this and she wants to print just Ava, here's Ava's video.
So the thing I've been doing is my
right now. She can hit feedback, edit. Now this edit here is how, if I don't like the way Ava put her name, she put it a way I didn't like, I can change that. If she put it in the wrong spot, I can move it. This allows me, if Ava's video is inappropriate, I can hide it. Anywho, so if I hit share, here's her QR code if I just want to do hers. Here's the link if I'm like, wow, this is really good. And sometimes I have ones that are funny and I'll send to Katie and I copy this student's link. Another hint that I'm going to show you really quick. If I'm watching the student videos back,
So the thing I've been doing is
stop. This button here says playback speed. If you're watching a lot of student videos, it takes you a while. I always bump them up to time and a half. So now, when Ava talks,
is my room. We decided we're painting it gray.
so I speed everybody up.
We painted basically
The only ones I can't speed up
clouds are getting painted.
are myself, because I'm already speed racing. So yeah. Anyway, back to the beginning. If you hit this here, print QR code, it's going to print every QR code for that entire topic. So like when I did the ones in the hallway, I would print for every student here. And then I would very slowly cut them all out with the chopper. And that's what I did. Sometimes if I didn't want their name, I'd chop their name off. You can chop the top off if you don't want the top. Options. So, any other questions for me? This is just something extra. I personally love Flipgrid. I do this a lot, but I think it benefits me that I have the iPads. But it's also great for conferences, parent open houses, just as a way, because those parents all come in with smartphones. It'd be awesome, like as a scavenger hunt. And I would love it this year for open house if we could all, put our little QR code outside of our door for people to scan. It would be so fabulous, Jenny. Especially you as a new kindergarten teacher. So, like usual,
I have a video first.
Yes, I provided a ton of links. This is an overview tutorial of just me explaining Flipgrid to you, how the basics. This is a Flipgrid live training I've done before. This is me explaining the Disco library. This is just, they have pre-made integration docs that tells you per grade level, per activity, social studies, science, ELA, tons of lesson examples, and it shows you how to do them. I find a way to ditch that textbook in anything I do. So here's Matt Miller with ditch that textbook examples. And then this is a wakelet of Flipgrid resources that I've created. If you got the wakelet from yesterday, did you guys all get my wakelet from yesterday? I think this is it. Nope, just kidding. So here's my wakelet from yesterday. This just shows you, here's my Google Classroom video I presented yesterday. Here's my interactive slides. Here's a bunch of templates. This is a Google Classroom tutorial that I didn't make because I didn't want to make one last night. I realized I didn't have one. Here was me explaining forms, how to hyperdoc, and then I moved on to Seesaw. Here's your links from Seesaw, the video, a tutorial, some templates. Like these are the ones that we shared with you two yesterday. I posted a template on here for anyone who wanted a free template. This was ways to use Seesaw in your classroom. Then I moved on to Flipgrid AR. Here was my slides. There's my wakelet on Flipgrid AR. I'll add the video later. Here was a live training, more ideas, more YouTubes that I've created that I think I showed you all of these. Just random things. And then here was Kahoot and quizzes, a tutorial on Kahoot, a tutorial on quizzes if you're still not comfortable. That is all in one general location, so you have it. I sent it yesterday. I can update it. You should have access to everything. That is all I have. So, Now we will have lunch for like an hour. If you want to work here, come back and work here, and I'll be here for any help you need. If you would like to